Welcome to today's episode of Audit Austin Code Compliance. Today I'm going to share with you the journey that a pair of homeowners went through based on the fact that Austin Code actually encourages people to dial 311 and turn in their neighbors. And what it's turned into is a mechanism whereby if you've got a grievance with your neighbor, in the past, you would normally go try to work it out with your neighbor. And if you didn't work it out with your neighbor, you were forced to take it to small claims court. You had to take money out of your pocket and sue your neighbor to get a resolution. Today, you don't have to do that. You just have to pick up the phone, dial 311, make up any story you want, as many times as you want, and the Austin Code Department will send somebody over to your neighbor's house and rattle their chains. And if you stand up for your constitutional rights, what happens is the code inspectors just harass you endlessly and try to put you on a path that it was such a nightmare for these folks, they sold their home and moved the hell out of the city of Austin. They had it with the neighbor, they had it with Austin Code, and they gave up. But they didn't give up without a fight. Let me show you this story. Okay, the property in question we're going to be talking about today is 5402 Branding Chase Street in Northwest Austin. For reference, we're using Google Earth, and you can see that this is Mopac here, this is West Palmer Lane here, and this is 183 Research Boulevard moving across this way. And so using Google Earth, we can zoom on in. And Google Earth is actually a really great tool. It's free. You can download it on your computer. We can zoom in here. We can see the property in question. We're gonna rotate it, and we can kind of flatten it out. And so here's the property in question, 5402 Branding Chase. What started all of this is going to be this structure right here. This isn't technically, it's a structure. Anytime you combine two pieces of wood or metal together and it forms something, it's called a structure in the city of Austin. This is a wood storage rack. If you're into barbecuing or have a fireplace in your house and you want to store your wood, this had been here for over 10 years. Been behind this row of bushes, well hidden for over 10 years. One of the owners of this property had been here for many years, been here since about 2002, had placed this thing, it's well behind this hedge, up against the fence line, and this neighbor over here, Mr. Scott, never saw it. But Mr. Scott all of a sudden decides to take offense to what's going on over in here, so he uses Austin Code and the setback rule for going after this structure here. All right, we've moved from Google Earth and we're using the City of Austin's GIS system. This is available to anybody online. Anybody can look at it. And you can see here's the aerial photograph. Now, I cannot rotate this image like I can on Google Earth. But here's the property in question. You can see we have a couple of structures back here, a big structure here, and here's a little wood rack that this neighbor took offense to. But is this really the best use of our staff's time? Today we're going to take a look at this. And again, this is an aerial photograph. I can go back here to the base map. And then you can see that we've got a portable building close here. I can come back over this way and you can see, look at, we've got buildings up against the property line here. We've got another one here. We've got another one here. It is not as if, again, here. You could do this all day long, but the citizens of Austin would not tolerate the Austin Code Department coming through and trying to correct years and years of oversight. Again, Austin Code is relatively new. Many of these structures have been in place 10 or more years. It's never been an issue. But yet today, one crankety old neighbor who, instead of working out a problem with his neighbor, uses Austin Code as a tool and turns this guy in multiple times and costs the taxpayers over moving these sheds 5 feet off of the property line. Let's take a look at it. All right, let's take a quick review. And again, we've got a lot of documents. I'm not going to show them all, bore you to death. But these are some of the code cases that were turned in for this property going back to 2013. Here's the case log here. Branding Chase, December 31st of 2013 is when a lot of this starts. The complaint is the concern that there is a welding shop and manufacturing during night. The fence is not in compliance with city codes. Again, this is the next door neighbor, Mr. Scott, turning these things in. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Horn comes out. He's a code inspector. He realizes the thing that's being built is less than 200 square feet. It's not an issue for Mr. Horn. It's not a business being operated out of there. And so basically he cites no violation and closes the case. Again, let's look at our timeline, December 31st of 2013, and it's closed in about a month, okay? So that doesn't satisfy the neighbor. The neighbor actually turns it in again in April. So from December to January, they were under investigation. Now back in April 17th, they're under investigation again. Again, now the complaint's a little bit more formalized. Citizens advise that occupants of the residence are building a shed that is too close to the property line, to the neighbors behind them, and on the side there are 2 sheds. Cement's also being done, backyard residence. You can make up whatever you want. He also believes he's running a welding business. Luckily for the owners, it's the same investigator that was out there 3 months before. He does note that the structure is under 200 square feet when finished. However, now he's saying they need a site plan. Before they didn't need a site plan, now they need a site plan. So now the homeowners who thought they had closure are now embroiled after 3 months of rest with another case that goes from April 17th and it goes all the way through June. So from April to June, they are dealing with the code compliance people who now insist that they need permits, who now insist, okay, that's April 17th of 2014. This case doesn't close until June of 15. So this case is open for well over a year because now they're saying, oh, wait a minute, there are violations and you need to do this and you need to do that. And it's just a hideous, hideous process these people have to go through. So while all that's going on, the neighbor decides to turn him in again. And then we have Jesse Collins come out. And you can see here that the neighbor turns in work without a permit, fence is being built in the wrong location, there's issues on the roof. The neighbor is using the city code department to harass these folks. And a lot of the things that you're focusing on here is the fact that these things have been in place for many, many years, and the city is not doing a big sweep. The city is concentrating on this one property owner, and the property owner tells the people, stop coming on my property. I don't want anybody else on my property taking any measurements on it. But that doesn't stop the city of Austin. It's incredible on how much time, money, and effort the city of Austin went to go after these homeowners for a few buildings that were up against the property line. The property owners have shared with me all of the documentation. I've been able to get most of it through open records, and I'm still putting together some of the pieces. But this is basically how the whole thing worked out. There were 4 or 5 code cases over the course of 2 years. This neighbor just relentlessly kept turning things in. And the homeowners finally got fed up with it and decided, to hell with this, we're going to move. We're not going to put up with this. And so, again, you can see the frustration. This is Ron April, one of the property owners, talking to Leah Warner, who is the assistant to the director of Austin Code. His council member, Don Zimmerman, great guy, Carl Smott, John Christopher, and then other people inside of the city of Austin. And he's talking about his frustration about how this wood rack had been in place for over 10 years and suddenly it becomes an issue for the neighbor. Because the neighbor clear cut about a 20-foot section of his overgrown shrubs in order to get a clear view into the garage and driveway. Again, it's an older gentleman, probably losing control of a lot of things in life, and the only thing he has control over, the only power he feels, is, damn it, we need to move this thing off the fence line. So again, here's the wood rack in question. After a long period of time, this is the wood rack that you see from the ground view. They took all the wood off the rack and they moved it 5 feet off the property line. Again, here's the property line here. Put up a new fence, trying to do everything to keep this neighbor happy, but it's never enough. So they moved it 5 feet off the property line. Again, there was a house over here on the left-hand side of the street, left-hand side of the house. It was over here. The code people actually measured, knowing these pickets are 6 inches wide, and figured out it was less than 2 feet away, and made them move this thing over. And so the property owner goes through all of the steps. He's getting ready to sell his house. He's done with the city of Austin, sends them the information. When he's selling a property, he gets a survey done, and the survey is different from the survey that he had when he purchased his property. And so here's what the city says. The staff has reviewed the case and was able to confirm that they went out and that some of the things have been moved. However, they said the shed originally cited for being on the setback on the left side of the property. This shed right here. The survey indicate it being 4.7 to 4.8 feet from the property line. The city requires the setback to be 5 feet in the side yard. This can be remedied by moving the structure 3 to 4 inches to the east toward the house, or removing the structure. This is what 3 years comes down to, is the fact that they're demanding that you move this thing 3 to 4 inches further away from the fence, or they're going to fine you $2,000 a day. Then they said, oh, by the way, we have an 8-foot fence on the side of the property, and the fence exceeds 7 feet in height. You need to get a permit for that. An outdoor cooking area that's been there for years and years. Oh, by the way, you need to get another permit for that. So is this really what we want the city of Austin taxpayers to spend their money on? Are we worried about wood racks that are too close to a fence line, or a storage shed that might be up against a fence line? Is this the best use of our tax dollars? Or should we be going after apartments that have substandard living? Should we be concentrating on the places when I go to the theater to watch a movie or to go out to eat? Those structures, are they in compliance with the city codes? How much time do we want to spend on things like this? The question is, if city officials start getting dinged for things like this, will the code department use the same tactics as they did here? So we've almost come full circle. But before I let you go today, I want to show you code violations at the Austin Code Department at 1520 Rutherford Lane. This has been turned in multiple times over the years, and the Code Department refuses to address these issues, but yet they find the time to go talk to homeowners about moving a storage shed 3 or 4 inches off the property line. Enjoy, and thanks for watching. Any city where dangerous conditions like extension cords are allowed to be laid across public walkways and then come up over a wall and into a landscaped area. This puts the people who do the landscaping at risk, because they'll find an extension cord when they're using power equipment. That extension cord comes across the landscaped area and onto a sidewalk, over another public sidewalk, and into a parking lot. What could this thing be for? Why, it's for the security staff at the Austin Code office. But wait, what is this pipe here? This pipe is part of a groundwater drain system that failed, and they jerry-rigged a pipe so they can discharge groundwater onto the public sidewalk. But where does that groundwater go? Yes, it goes right over to the electrical connection for the security truck. And who allows all of this to happen and refuses to fix it? That would be the Austin Code Enforcement Office.